Alright, YouTubers, welcome back. My name's Dave, like always, and you found do it yourself, do it right. Well, it's a steamy, hot, humid day. So why not do what I've been putting off for a long time, and that's fiddling around with the jets on my racer, the bike that I call my racer. This is the bike that got me into working on old Hondas. I kind of turned it into a cafe racer and then turned it into a brat style scrambler, as you can see here. What's my problem? Well, the problem is when I was in New York, I rejetted the bike to run into higher altitudes, less oxygen. Now I'm back down here where it's hot and humid and it's fouling plugs faster than I can make money to buy more spark plugs, because you know they're not cheap anymore. So what am I gonna do today? I'm gonna open up the carburetor. I'm gonna change out some jets, the main ones first. Hopefully that'll fix my problem. I think that's all I did last time, and I'm gonna take you guys along with me. So let's sweat together. To elaborate a little further about this bike, I bought this bike in like 2016, I think. It was Thanksgiving Day. It was a rainy day. Went and picked it up. It was stock. The whole thing was stock. I probably should have left it stock. It was in great shape. I didn't know what I had at the time. Anyways, so I went to cutting, went to making, to doing, to changing, to painting. You know, I made it what I thought a cafe racer should be. I had upside down bars on it. Like I said, this is years ago. I've changed it to be more comfortable. The seat has always been the same. I've made a bigger electrical box for it. You know, pretty much all this was still the same. Handlebars, I think I've had like 3 different sets of handlebars on this bike. Same with the headlight. Originally I didn't have a speedometer. I didn't have any blinkers. All I had was a headlight and what I thought was a decent tail light. But all that's since been changed. It's been a lot. It's sat for a while I worked on other bikes. It's, you know, it's always been here and it will always be with me. This is what I call my forever bike. This one and my Harley out there, Charlene. So these are my 2 forever bikes. The other bikes that I own, you know, they can be bought and sold and whatever. Anyways, my issue, and a lot of people say you can't do it, you can't run pods on these bikes, but I figured out a way. You just got to be a little bit smarter than the average bear. It does take a bit to get them dialed in. I will say I spent pretty much a whole summer getting this bike dialed in, so you know I'm kind of used to this jet changing, you know, needle valve washers, putting extras, changing idles and blah blah blah. So I've got it pretty much down to a science. Hopefully all I have to do, I don't exactly remember what jet is in it. I think it's really big, and that's the reason why my plugs are falling out. As you can see,
oh dude, this is not good.
They're black. They shouldn't be that black. They should be like a charcoal, not charcoal, like a brown-ish milk chocolate color in the middle of the plug. So going to get this thing up in the air and take the float bowls off, get fuely, sit in front of the fan for a bit, and that's what we're gonna do. So let's do it. As you can see, I still haven't changed this bullshit contraption out. It's just terrible design, and it's cheap. This whole lift is really been a disappointment. You can see my my review on this motorcycle lift when I bought it, put it together. I wasn't happy with it then. I'm still really not all that happy with it. Maybe when I get the time to change the valve, maybe mount it up here or over here to where it's easy, just plug it in, bing bang boom, goes up and down. It's just for the money that I paid for it, not great. Here's an up close and personal. Basically, I'm just going to take the bottom of the carburetors off, and the main jet just hangs out there. Give me a chance to flush these float bowls too. I don't know the last time these were off. Probably last summer. Actually, no, I think I cleaned the carburetors this spring. So hopefully this petcock works and I don't leak fluid or fuel all over the place. Probably should put some gloves on. I don't get fuel all over me, but it's too hot for gloves. This bike has been over in my storage room for the last few months. Kind of feel bad leaving it over there, but I ain't got the room. Fun part here is getting a screwdriver back to them back ones. Being that, you know, I cut out all the innards, it's easier to get in there. I could even take the pods off, it'd make it easier, but then I got to put the pods back on. I just use a ratcheting little, with a, you know, reach in there, pop her loose. I just get them finger loose and then I come back. The engine's hot. Yep, that's always fun. I thought I left it sit long enough, but apparently not.
A few moments later.
Now I got all the screws out. Here's the float bowl. I actually expected it to be dirtier. There's some gunk in there. I mean, little bits. But I actually expected it. Oh, well, that wasn't good. Let me get the gasket back. I actually expected it to be a lot more varnished by the look of the fuel that first popped out. So, all right, the easiest way to get these out, I'm gonna see if, well, that's not gonna work. I usually just get a little socket and take the whole high-speed emulsifier tube and the jet out at the same time. It's easier going back up in there also. You don't have to worry about, you know, getting one little one. You can just get the one big one up in there. I think it's easier to get a bigger one in than it is a littler one.
That's what she said.
The whole tube is an 8mm, that is. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Of course, I got a nice little flex head ratchet. Makes it easier to get in there. And you just pop her out. Reach in there with no gloves so your hand smells like fuel afterwards. And you just pop the whole thing out. That's the whole tube. And that is your jet. Let's see what size that is. Oh yeah, it's a big one. It's a 112 in there. So we're gonna drop her down. Ooh, I don't know. I think it's a 112. Yeah. Maybe is that a 102? What's a 102? Is that a 102 or is that a 112? Man, my eyeballs not doing so well.
God damn it.
Alright, after shining some extra light on the situation, I believe it to be a 102. Before I change it, I'm going to pull the other side apart, make sure I can determine if that's a 102. Once I get all the tools, this side is a tidbit easier to get to because, well, I gotta drain the fuel out of it first. It's a little bit easier to get to. The fuel lines aren't in the way. Oh wow, that one really wasn't even that tight. Leaking fuel, although it wasn't leaking, so good job O-ring. Needle and seat, do your thing. All right. Again, fuel looks the same. It's not terrible. I always go ahead and put my plug back in because I'm notorious for not putting the plug back in, turning the fuel on, and then it just runs right straight out of the carburetor because I forget to put that in. This time it's tight. All right, like I said, this side's easier to get to. Less stuff in the way. The only one that's a little bit difficult is this inboard one, and that's because the fuel line inlet part of the tube is right there. As you can tell, I've had these apart a bunch. They're just a little tighter than finger tight. They don't need to be cranked down on. Oh, I think I switched it. I sure did. These don't need to be cranked down on because it's just pot metal. And you crank these screws down, and I've done it. Let me just say, I do have a set of carburetors that one of these screws is stripped out because I cranked down on it too hard. I think it's actually the set of carburetors that's up on the wall. You know, decoration. After thinking about it, I think I am going to take one of these pod filters off and show you how I altered it so it'll work with these bikes. Yeah, see, this one's a little, I got a little bit of grind, little chunks in there, not too bad. Nothing to be concerned about. Nothing to write home about. Pop this guy out. Again, not super tight, doesn't need to be. And what do we have here? Oh boy, doctor says flashlight. Oh boy, look at the cobweb in there. 102. Alright, so I'm going to look in my stash of carburetor parts. And see if I got something a little bit smaller. I'm not making a big swing at these, just a little one. I want it to be a little bit leaner. And I might mess with the idle screw. That might help it out a little bit. I mean, this is how much I work on CB360s. I love them. I got my own little carburetor rebuild kit. Yes, I did buy the initial one from Common Motors, but I've also added a lot to it from carburetors that I've basically junked and put the pieces in here after cleaning them, of course. So I mean, I do have them labeled 115, 70, 95, 108s, 100s, question mark, because those are questionable. 110s, 105s. You get the point. I'm going to admit to you, this is not what I expected. I expected a much larger jet in this bike. I expected that to be a 112 or a 110, but that sucker sure is a 102. So I have a set of 100s that I'm going to throw in here. I'm gonna take a look at the idle jet that's in there, see what size that is. I don't know if I put a bigger one of those in there, which also could lead to a very rich plug, being that the main jet runs it half throttle to full throttle. The idle secondary jet, whatever you want to call it, everybody calls it something else, runs it from idle up to half. So maybe I put a bigger one of those in it. I'm gonna go ahead and snatch one of those out, see what size that is before I get messing with this. Just as I suspected, this is a 68, which is the normal size that's supposed to be in there. It is a new one. Sometimes you got to be careful with some of these rebuild kits. The sizes aren't exactly right. You get a cheap one from eBay, the jets are all messed up, and then you're really struggling. But this, I know this came from Common Motors, which is typically a good setup. As you can see, this is a bigger one. This is that's a 70, same design. I know it came from this kit. I'm gonna put the 68 back in. I'm gonna throw a smaller main jet in. I know the needle is shimmed up, so that might be something that I need to take out. But we'll do this first. We'll put this back in, change to a smaller jet, and give her a whirl. As you can see, the newer, shinier jets are in. These are 100s, and I keep the other jets out because I know the bike actually runs well. It rides down the road, it doesn't stutter, it doesn't hesitate, does what it's supposed to do. So now if I put these in here and I have some sort of weird thing driving down the road, well then I know these are the problem. You know, this is the whole troubleshooting. Change one thing, test it, see if it works. If it doesn't work, you know what I mean? If you change too many variables at one time, you don't know which variable made it mess up or not work the way it's supposed to. So I think that's like the scientific law of experimentation that we came up with, right? I don't know. I failed chemistry because of the teacher. He's a jerk. Mr. Stiles. John Stiles. Still works at the school I graduated from. Don't know how. He was a terrible teacher. Anyways, let's put these back in. Same process, just in reverse. I don't know where my ratchet went. Alright, so the jet that I pulled out is back in. This jet's going in. By the way, I also made sure that it was clear. All the holes were clear. Where's my ratchet? Here's my ratchet. Just gonna give it a little bit of, well, it's in loosening direction. We're gonna put it in the tightening direction. Now I do realize that float height also messes with rich, you know, if you're battling lean and rich conditions. So that is also a variable. Unfortunately, I'm not going to take the carburetors all apart to do that. At least not right now. I set them every single time I take them apart. So technically it should be set. Seal is on there. Popper up on there. Let's get a screw started. Like I said, reverse order from what you did before. To know if this works or not, it's a long haul. You know, you gotta ride it over a time or two or 10. A while. You just can't. What the freak is going on with this thing? Oh, maybe that's the one that I stripped out and and then fixed. You know it's hot when your camera says, hey, you know what, I'm gonna take a break because I'm overheating. Good job, GoPro. I'm gonna snatch this pod filter off and show you what I was talking about earlier. Alright, so for those of you, it's actually kind of dirty in there, kind of gross. Maybe I should clean these carburetors. Okay, well, we'll deal with that another time. Alright, so these carburetors, the way they work, the little valve body has a diaphragm in here and a spring. Give it throttle, so opens it up, sucks more air, that valve goes up and down. The way that valve works is there's air, it's got to come through this little hole right here. I'm pointing at it, you can't see it because you're a little further away. Anyways, to get these carburetors to work properly with a pod filter, you have to go in and cut out a notch in the pod filter so the air can still get through this little airway. So that's what you do. You gotta notch it out. It's just rubber. You just notch it. I made a bigger notch so in case it moves a little bit, it's still got enough room. See the notch? Alright, now I'm going to show you on the carburetor. This airway right here, this top piece, air travels through there. As that diaphragm goes up and down, air moves through there. That's how it works properly. The people that say you can't get pod filters to work right, well, they haven't notched out their pod filter. Because if you don't, it blocks it, doesn't work right. Bike doesn't run worth crap. Granted, you do have to do a lot of jetting. You have to experiment with jetting. That's what I'm doing. That's what I did for a whole summer years ago. It's just the way it is, folks. Let me put this back on. Clamp it, tighten it, dude, and you're done. Whew. Now I need to take a break. Everything is put back together. Let's turn the fuel on and see if the carburetors are gonna leak. There goes fuel. This guy is not doing anything. Probably needs a tap tap. I'm gonna actually see if the starter will actually start it. Starter in this bike has always been not great, so I just, came to the conclusion that I should just kickstart it, but sometimes it'll work. It's only running on one cylinder. That one is always the culprit. Probably because it doesn't have any fuel in it. I don't know why this bike does this, but every time I mess with a carburetor, the lines seem to like vapor lock, and I have to pull the fuel line off to get the fuel flowing. It's like it creates like a suction, not really a suction, more like a vacuum, and it doesn't want to work properly. It seems like it's only this bike. I don't understand why. So now, it should start up. That's what the starter always does. Let's go to the other side so I can run the throttle and hit the starter button. Let's try this again. Oh yeah, now it's not going to want to do it. Now it's running on both. I'm going to warm it up so then I can adjust the idle screw. That might be one of the reasons why it might be too far out.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
I think it was 2 turns out. Now it's 1 turn out. That adjustment didn't really make a big difference. Didn't really hear the engine go up or down, which leads me to believe that the needles are too far up, allowing a lot of fuel to go by. You hear it go a little bit? I think those needles are probably shimmed 1 too many. I think there's 2 on it. All right. Now all I have to do is ride it. Get a good idea. It needs gas. I'm going to ride it down to the gas station. I'm going to ride up and down the road a few times. Make sure that it's not too lean so it's not going to overheat, get too hot, which I don't think that's going to be the case. And then I'll come back and I'll pull the plugs with you guys to see. These were brand new, like I said, brand new. We'll see what they look like after the, the little bit of idling here, getting gas, normal riding up and down the road. I'm not gonna beat on it too much, but I'm gonna ride it like I normally ride it. She's a bit of a smoky mess from the last time I did some work on it. I got oil all over that heat wrap. So that's why it's smoking. That's why people were giving me weird looks at the gas station, thinking that they were probably gonna blow up because my motorcycle was smoking as much as it was. But alas, it didn't blow up, and it's not going to. It's just oil. It stinks real bad. I probably should take a hose to it at some point. Not right now because it's really friggin' hot. I'm gonna push it in, let the fan blow on the bike for a few minutes, try to cool it off before I get my mitts in there looking at those spark plugs. So it ran okay. I mean, it ran like it normally does. I couldn't really tell a difference, which is good, I guess. Hopefully the plugs will show a difference. Maybe show it a little leaner. Hopefully it didn't do the other way, which wouldn't make any sense. But yeah, let's Let's get it on the lift, get it up in the air, let it cool off. I need a drink, some water, probably dehydrated. Now that it's cooled off a little, by cooled off I mean 2nd degree burns without a glove. Alright, let's go ahead and pull this number 1. You're number 1. I went up and down the road 50, 55, 45, 60 at one point. Bloomingdale cop sits down there. Hey, 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 as the Fonz would say. Hey, okay, it's hot. All right, so like I said, brand new this morning. It's dark around the edges and it's a light brown in the middle. You know, it could be a chocolate in the middle eventually. Let's show you what these old ones showed. These old ones were all black, no chocolate, nothing. That one's showing a bit on the tang and down on the inside. Maybe it'll focus for you. So I like what it's showing right now compared to what it was doing. Now I will say that these are BR8 ESs. B8, yeah, that's what they are. What are these? Yeah, BR8 ES. The R stands for a resistor in there, I guess. Which some people say you're not supposed to run it with the R. But, you know, I'm trying to find B8 ESs. I have some. I think these are B8s right here. Nope, that's an R. What is this one over here? That's an B8 ES. Can't remember what that came out of. Not sure if it still works. You know, I like collecting spark plugs. Not really. I just don't remember which are the good ones and the bad ones. Let's hop to the other side. Got her plugged in so the battery can be minded while it's here in the garage. No power over in the storage room, so I can't really charge and put the battery on a battery minder. Got to bring it over here. Alright, so this one's kind of saying the same. It's dark around the edge, light in the middle and on the tang. Ow, it's still hot, really hot. Still hot. A little chocolatey, maybe. Maybe it'll be chocolatey. Maybe it's just really hot and it hasn't blackened over yet. We don't know, but we will find out over time, riding it, seeing what it does. I mean, I know as soon as I try to kickstart it if it's going to be fouled or not, because it'll run on this number 2 cylinder, but the number 1 cylinder seems to be the one that kills it. Kills the plug, then it doesn't want to run right. So it's just kind of really knowing your motorcycle. I went over to get it the last time I was home for 2 weeks. It was like the second to the last day I was home. Wanted to bring it over, charge the battery. It wouldn't run worth a dang. I knew it was spark plugs. I didn't bring spark plugs and it was hot. So I was like, screw it. I'll get to it this 2 weeks off. So here I am. So if you guys like these kind of videos with the old bikes, tinkering on them, you know, I always say you can't own an old motorcycle or an old car if you don't like tinkering, because, you know, it takes a lot to keep them going, keep them running, keep them in kind of tip-top shape. Let's be honest, you know, I could do a better job, but you know, I just got so much stuff that I got to keep up with. This one, unfortunately, usually goes to the wayside. But I get around to it eventually. So like I said, if you guys like this kind of stuff, like, tag, share, follow, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And like always, till next time, thanks a lot. But I really need to put a valve where I can go eat, up, down, instead of this bullshit thing. It's just terrible. Terrible design, and it's cheap.